At FitFilliate, we're excited to announce the Affiliate Engineering Seminar. Coming soon to an affiliate near you, don't miss this exciting opportunity to create the affiliate of your dreams. Link in show notes or in bio to register. Welcome back to the next episode of the FitFilliate podcast, joined as ever by my faithful companion on his endless trek to nowhere on his treadmill, Tony.
And I do need to move this treadmill, don't I?
Yeah. It's not as relaxing as back and forth on the bike erg, that's for sure.
My prostate disagrees.
I don't think we need to discuss your prostate on this
recording.
Saying,
I should never spend that much time sitting on a bike seat.
We've just lost all of our viewers and listeners.
The Lycra army is not going to show up in the YouTube comments mad at me.
Well, no, because we can only see your chest up. It's good. But we do have a special guest today. The one and only Mr. Keith Knapp is joining us.
Special might be an oversell.
Well, it depends how you take it. But, we always have good-looking guests and the host too, clearly. We're not going to throw ourselves out of there. But Keith is the owner of CrossFit Fairfield and recent addition to the FitFilliate team. So we've got lots to dig into today. That's all exciting news. So welcome, Keith.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome.
First of many.
The first of many. I was just about to say that, no doubt. And to get your perspective on things. So
I love Keith's microphone because Keith's microphone to me looks like it's like bedazzled. So it's like very sparkly. So I'm always like, I need a glittery microphone. Mine just looks like
I like that.
I'm just going to hide behind
maybe
it.
I should actually bedazzle it.
This is going all manner of directions.
How about now?
Yes.
We got you. We got you now.
The mute button on my microphone. What I was saying was, ironically enough, my watch is telling me that I'm being productive today. So you can't take that from me, Lisa. And then I muted the microphone. So
all right, we'll make sure that stays in.
Jokes on me.
Yeah, it's the best we've heard.
Moving on.
Let's get on to talking about all things Keith. That's the exciting bit.
I love it.
Are you just no?
Okay.
I thought we'd. Hey,
I don't know where I just put you. You're gone on my screen. Sorry. All right, I'm back.
This is Tony's first podcast for everybody who's
never done this before.
He's brand new.
Yeah. Fun fact: Lisa put me on a different platform last time, and I was like, "This is strange. I don't know what to do with myself." And now we're back on this one. So
yeah,
you would think I know what I'm doing with myself, but I don't.
I like to keep it fresh.
Anyway, Mr. Keith Knapp is on the episode. There's a couple of things I want to talk about with you, so I'm glad that you're here. But I don't know what's the better way to go about it, but I guess we should probably go with the same fashion we go with everybody, which is the origin story.
Sure.
Everybody, generally speaking, most people that end up coming on here are friends and family of mine, and they fall into like the OG camp. And so getting to know the origin story, I think, is important. But I think everybody's origin story in CrossFit is always endlessly fascinating, but it's listening to it. So, but you have definitely, we've worn a lot of hats in the CrossFit space for sure. And you're somebody who, got my attention by the amount of attention that you got from other people in terms of how much they liked you, which that part to me was always quite impressive. Quite the diplomat in the CrossFit space. So I guess let's just start there, because I don't even know if I really actually truly know what your origin story is in CrossFit. Like, how did you get into CrossFit? And then we can get into where you got yourself into in CrossFit, I suppose.
Yeah, sure. So how I got into CrossFit was, so I was a collegiate cross country and track athlete. I ran the 10K and the steeplechase and track. But in high school, I had been a pole vaulter. And so my senior year of track, I decided that in my senior year of track in college, I decided that I was going to try the decathlon, but I was built like a 10K runner. I was a 6 foot tall, 145 pound distance runner. And so in order to get ready for the decathlon, I had to get stronger and faster and more powerful and all the things that you can accomplish if you do CrossFit training. So found CrossFit as a way to kind of get in shape for the decathlon. I never ended up doing the decathlon because I fell in love with CrossFit. And it was kind of interesting because I was a cross country scholarship athlete. Track was kind of this ride on. Everybody did it, just kind of because. But I didn't really have to do anything my senior year of track, so I pole vaulted for fun and then just kept doing CrossFit. So that was kind of how it started. That was 2008. The guy that introduced me to it, his uncle was a Navy SEAL and had kind of been introduced through kind of the I think, a lot of the early adopters of CrossFit were folks from the military. So that's kind of, I was introduced by someone else who was introduced in that kind of way. And first workout I ever did was Fran in my garage. I remember doing pull-ups on an I-beam that ran through the garage, and it was a terrible experience, but also like the most amazing experience. It was like at that point, I'd never even seen a thruster before. So they were like, hey, you do this thruster, it's a front squat, but then you push the thing over your head. And I'm in a garage with with steel plates, those tiny little 25 steelies. And it was amazing. Like, you get done with that workout and you're laying on the ground wondering what the hell happened. And like, I want to do that again and again and again. And so we built out our whole garage in college into a CrossFit gym, and loved every minute of it. And that's kind of how I stuck with it for, from 2008 until 2018. I was almost exclusively in a garage gym. I'd stop into a affiliate every once in a while to drop in somewhere if I was like on vacation or didn't have access to my own garage. But then in 2018, I was like, you know what? I've been doing this for long enough that I feel like I should probably call myself a CrossFitter. Like, let's go do the open. Let's just actually get all the way in. And so I called a gym that was down the road from where I live now and said, hey, I've been doing this for a long time. I've never done the open before. I think I'd like to come try it. And they were like, come on in. Sounds great. So I went in, did the open for the first time in 2018. And it was really the first time I had like gotten introduced to like the full community, right? I had done CrossFit, the methodology, for a long time, but never really exposed myself to CrossFit, the community. And I like got hit right in the face with it. It was like, oh shit, this is way better. And so, got a chance to do the open in 2018, and then kind of got connected to that affiliate and the owner and head coach, and eventually started to consulted with them for a while, helped them like do some membership drive, help them move their gym from one location to another, and then eventually from another location to another. Kind of got connected to them that way. And I mean, that's kind of that's the long and the short of the origin story, I guess.
Yeah, that's quite an origin story, actually. I mean, for one, it's quintessential, right? It's like that classic sort of one. I think what's interesting is that your first CrossFit experience, you're like, man, I want to do that again. My CrossFit experience is like, fuck that, I'm never doing that again. Naturally. Also, fun fact, I don't know if I mentioned this in the last episode, but 2 Saturdays ago was my 19th year anniversary of CrossFit, and I spent it watching CrossFit for basically 24 hours at Diesel Day. So clearly I was wrong when I said I will never do that again. But I do think your story is both fun and quintessential. And I think what's interesting to me about it, a couple parts about it, is that one, I still to this day can't figure out how you are and have been around CrossFit for so long, and I didn't know who you were, but probably because you were a hermit, which is the part that I want to dig into, because you spent a long time in your garage, and maybe that was because you came from a slightly heightened level of fitness as a quote unquote former or potential decathlete into what was a CrossFitter. You certainly were probably more fit than the average person, no doubt about it. Probably not fit by the definition of CrossFit, but I would suspect that you were probably within the realm of, I don't want to say comfort, but capability of pushing yourself or engaging yourself or testing yourself inside the garage.
Yep.
And what I think is interesting in this conversation, we haven't really had that many people who've come on with that sort of story, right? I think a lot of us all started in our garage, especially those of us who were like, pre-2010, because there just wasn't that many affiliates.
What you could do.
Yeah, right. Like it was like, get it where you can get it type of thing. And
Yeah.
And it was just, what were you going to do? Bring your basketball full of pennies into the Globo gym to do wall balls? That was not going to happen. And you couldn't use their balls because their 10-pound ball was like this big, and the 20-pound ball was also this big. But everybody, I think, for the most part, like, went more mainstream, right? Like whether they went into seminar staff or they went into affiliate ownership or both, you stayed in the garage for a long time. And obviously experienced a certain level of fitness. And what is interesting to you is that the thing that drew you out of the garage is the thing that I consider to be the antithesis of CrossFit, which is the games.
Sure.
And so what I do find interesting in this is that I'm wrong in one category, at least with one person. Lisa, you stay quiet down there.
That's right. I'm editing clips now as we speak.
I'm wrong.
What I do like that I was wrong in that regard. I still suspect that I'm not totally wrong with many people, because you are a weirdo in the most glorious way possible.
Yes.
But you found your way there. But I think there's a lot of value in it, because there is a shit ton of Keiths, fit and otherwise, decathletes or otherwise, and maybe just, off the couch into CrossFit type of people in their garages who haven't walked into affiliates. And inside that understanding and inside that story, in better unpacking the psychology of a person who's like, I have everything I need right here. And then as you experience, right, once you get in the affiliate, you're like, boy, was I wrong, right? Like same with me, I'm 19 years into CrossFit, but like, if I truly was honest, I would say that like, I'm really only 15 years in, because those first 4 years were like, trying to cobble together workouts inside a Globo gym or where I could, or doing random, like, Central Park meetup type things. And like, but it wasn't until like I got into a gym that I got my ass kicked, right? Like literally, figuratively, and otherwise. And I was like, day one starts today. Yeah. And so I think it's interesting to talk about that part of it, because, it's not something that I think a lot of, like, there's not many people who stayed in the garage for 10 years. Like,
yeah. I mean, I think part of the thing that made it easy for me to stay in the garage, and hell, like, I still need a dose of the garage, like, pretty regularly. Like a good long workout in the garage is kind of like, it's a happy place for me. And I think part of that is just like, comes from having been a distance runner my whole life. Like I started, I grew up in Kentucky, and so Kentucky is a little bit weird, but in Kentucky, and this is actually still true today, you can be a varsity athlete as soon as you're able to make the varsity team. So I started running varsity cross country as a 6th grader, and I was practicing.
Oh, that's an early one. That's
I was running 6-7 days a week as a 6th grader, distance runs. And like, a distance runner doesn't have a team. They don't have, I mean, you're a member of a team, but like when you go out for a 10-mile run, like no matter who is on your team, you're always by yourself for a long period of time. And so I grew up with the understanding that in order to get better, you had to spend time in the pain cave all alone. And so the idea of like being in the garage, pushing myself to a limit all by myself, felt very natural and incredibly comfortable. And it still does. Like, I don't have any issue. It doesn't take a lot for me to be able to push all the way to 10 all by myself without anybody around. That being said, it's a whole lot more fun to push myself all the way to 10 when I'm surrounded by a bunch of other people who are also trying to do that. So finding my way into the affiliate eventually like made it more enjoyable to some extent, I guess, maybe to get to that level. But like, I always recognize that as the necessity from a very young age anyway. So that's probably why I stayed in the garage as long as I did. And why I'm comfortable in that environment. Yeah.
I mean, the thing, well, one, it's weird. It's weird to find someone who chooses a sport that you chose, right? Like, obviously the multitude of us were all forced into various different ball sports, but like, it's interesting to me, and we don't necessarily need to jump into that part of it, but I think it would be very curious, and maybe we'll do it on a later episode of like, why on earth you chose that, and what.
That's a super simple answer. Like, it's actually like, so I played every sport growing up. Like, I played everything except for football. My dad refused to let me play football. until I could play for school. And then where we grew up, you couldn't play for school until you were in high school. But all my friends played like peewee football, and I was like, I want to play football. I want to play football. And cross country happened to be during football season. So my dad said, go try cross country. And I showed up to the very first cross country practice as a studly 47-pound sixth grader. And
lungs of a gazelle.
And I was like, I'm pretty, it's probably pretty fair to say that I was every version of ADHD that existed, and just went for it. And I ended up being one of the best runners on the team, like straight out of the gate. And I was like, oh, I can do this. And I made a connection. It wasn't right away. It wasn't in sixth grade, but by eighth grade for sure, I knew that I was going to make my way through college because of running. I already made that connection. I grew up in a household that if I didn't find a way to pay for college, I wasn't going to go. And so by the age of 13 or 14, I was like, if I keep running and I keep improving the way that I'm improving, like I don't have to pay for college. I can do that. So, and that's how it ended up working out. So that's how that's how I like quote unquote chose cross country.
Yeah. And
I ended up falling in love with it because I love work. And like cross country is like the most quintessential version of work there is. It's just like you, yourself, a clock, go. And you get as good as you want to get based on how hard you want to push, which is in a lot of ways
the part that's fascinating to me is because I think a lot of kids when they get dropped off at, quote unquote cross country tryouts and be like, okay, I won't do whatever I did yesterday to get punished today. Can I come home now? But you were like, turns out I can exercise my demons here, so to speak. And I'm actually really good at this thing. And that would be fun to talk about. But what I think is more interesting to everybody that's listening to this, though, is kind of where we were going with it in terms of like, because you were good at it, you're fit, you're clearly good. The reason you were able to get your way into college and through high school running was that you understood, the hard things, right? Like you understood, quote unquote, the pain cave, or insert whatever cliche in here. And so when you found a more functional application of that intensity, I suppose, through CrossFit, it's no surprise to me where you're just like, I have everything I need right here. Right. Like, and I'm curious about that part of it in terms of, because obviously you knew CrossFit affiliates existed, and there was a couple around you, not a ton of them. You weren't obviously in like this metro area, but for whatever reason, what was it that you didn't think existed in that gym that was worth you walking into?
Gosh, I mean, in 2008, as a college student, a lot of it was like the time it would have taken me to get there.
Sure.
And the idea of having to spend money to do something that I was doing for free in my garage.
Yeah.
And that was like, and honestly, like it took me a long time to make the connection that like, oh, it's worth spending money on this. Just like transparently. And it's an interesting thing that I'm now running an affiliate where I'm encouraging people to spend money and come be a part of it. But yeah, I mean, those were probably the two biggest barriers for me. It was just like the time it took to get to a gym versus the time it took me to walk downstairs into my garage. And the idea that I would give up some like an exchange of value to like have somebody else tell me to do the thing that I was already doing.
Yeah. And I think that's why I'm fascinated with this subject, right? Because we know, like I've said it on here 100 times, CrossFitters are terrible customers. They're just awful customers, and like they're great people, just bad customers because they're. And I think that gets lost on people a lot. Like they think that they take that at face value, saying that like I don't like CrossFitters. I do. I actually love them as people in terms of my appreciation for like what they've done, and like if you want to spend time with good people, it's a pretty easy thing to do to walk into a CrossFit gym. You're probably going to find the right people because like in life, they have confronted the hard things. So you're like, I'm not going to be sitting at a table talking about face level things and your avoidance of discomfort. Like you guys are my people. And so that reason I think it gets dismissed there. And I just want to be very clear on that one. But when we say that, and I've tried to iterate it in the past, but I think you're a perfect example of it because you, by all size, shapes, definition, otherwise, are the ideal avatar for most CrossFit affiliate owners, right? Like you are the absolute person they hope more than anything walks in the door of their gym, right? This guy who comes out of the forest, chiseled out of stone, and smashes an open workout. And they're like, he's how I'm going to make it. All of my validation is going to come from my ability to put my name on the back of this Keith guy, right? And that's a joke, right? And not the chiseled out of stone part, because go on his Instagram and he looks better than me naked. Not that I've seen him naked, but I can just infer that. But my point is that, most affiliate owners don't want to make somebody, right? They do, but it'd be a lot easier to just get credit for somebody. And they think that like there's some degree of their own validation that comes from the amount of fitness they create for another person. That's wrong, but that's a long conversation. But like, you're the person they're hoping to attract, the total one. And for all the reasons you just said, like the amount of time it's going to take me to get in my car, drive across town, get out of my car, walk in this strange place, and do the thing that I can already do at home isn't necessarily a good cost benefit analysis. And then on top of that, the actual cost of it is like, I'd love to do it with other people so I could beat them. That'd be awesome. Feel good about myself. But like paying $175, $200 a month to scratch my ego isn't really worth it, because you don't really think that like I'm going to walk in the gym and like you're going to make me better, because I'm going to walk in a gym and this becomes an arena. Like, I'm going to walk into the Thunderdome and I'm going to lay it down, and they are going to worship me and all of my fitness. And you walk in the gym and some CrossFit coach is like, let me see how you move. And you're like, I move. Look at me. Like I'm great. And like the whole thing is a confrontation from the very beginning, right? Like they're like, like, let's try doing this. And you're like, I've been doing this for 10 years. You're like, yeah, I know. Unfortunately, in your garage. And you're like, don't you invalidate me, right? And like the whole thing, right out the beginning, becomes a problem. And so I think it's hilarious and ironic, because like, not only are you their ideal person, but as a marketer, which you are, you can respect and laugh at that whole sort of notion, which is like, and then on top of where marketing led you into the CrossFit ecosystem as a guy who knows a thing or two about a thing or two inside the actual ecosystem, and in terms of position that you were once in, like this is the hurdle.
Yeah.
It's the very nature of the irony of which they're all pursuing. And I'm like, pump the brakes. You need like the pre-Keith version of them, but like that would to get you, it had to go to like 5th grade. Yeah. Right? Like, and now that does happen because we do have a lot of CrossFit kids, but the point is that to understand the value of what's happening in the gym doesn't come from the great person walking out of the woods coming to the gym, putting your name on them. It's like your ability to create those people. But even then, back to like you and I were talking about this the other day, success for every person is designed by the person. It's not designed by the affiliate owner, and it's not dictated by the affiliate owner. And it's certainly not a validation of the affiliate owner in terms of their ability to make somebody a success.
Right.
So I think there's so much to talk about in terms of like, how do we get people like you to do things like this? And if I get more people like you to do things like this, does that get the other people who aren't like you to want to do things like this? And then how do we do that? Does that make sense?
Well, it does. And I mean, I think the one thing that maybe is the one like benefit that I didn't hear you talk through as much in that the chat there is like, there is so much value that the whole community gets by having versions of everyone, right? No gym, at least I haven't met one that wants everybody who's like whatever version of you have in my mind or in your mind. But there's so much value that I get out of watching as an affiliate owner, as an athlete. I took the 6 o'clock class last night with folks in the gym, and like there's 3 of us were former collegiate athletes, and then you have a bunch of people that are like very like maybe a high school athlete or have never done anything in my life and have never touched a weight in my life. And having that whole mix, that like microcosm of what the actual world looks like is actually the real value in it. If I really wanted a group of like just the exact same carbon copies of me, like one, I'm going to end up being an incredibly dense version of like a person, because there'll be no, you know what I mean? Like there just won't be depth, and there won't be character that's created. And I think being able to expose people to like a little bit of everything is actually the real magic of what happens in the CrossFit affiliate.
For sure. I mean, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And it's a part of a long list of reasons why like it is better inside the affiliate than out of the affiliate. Because I think one of the reasons I'm interested in this conversation is I've talked about it on here before, but I think that I'm fascinated with, and it's probably because I'm old, right? And I've been through CrossFit now for 2 decades, but like I'm fascinated with the epochs that exist inside CrossFit, right? With the eras, so to speak. And, the good old days, the 2005, 2010s were probably anything but the good old days, but nostalgia is nostalgia. But what's interesting about those days is that they were the garage gym days, and they were mostly about, it was less about, how to do it and what it looks like to do it, and more about just doing it, right? Like there was a certain level of execution and action that led to, I guess call it success, whatever that looks like, or at least some degree of identity. And I think that's important because then we moved into new eras, and the new eras became more about like, identity preceding, actual action. Some people, they're buying the shoes and the clothes and they're doing the thing before the thing, like we call it the Reebok era. But what I think is interesting is all that garbage aside, like we had the garage gym. All of us in the garage gym realized, I think I need to do this with people, right? And then that led to what would be the explosion of the 2010 affiliate growth era, where it was like, we need more affiliates. And I think that a downturn in real estate, it made it a lot more easy. And like, we don't really talk much about that, how that happened, but like affiliates kind of exploded then. And then people came into affiliates. Unfortunately, it wasn't the best era, right? That decade was very chaotic for lots of reasons. For one, there was so much stimulus going on, athletes, games, Reebok stuff, stuff to pay attention to, besides like, let's just squat below parallel and do that again until we figure out where it breaks, right? Like,
yep.
And so the affiliates didn't really pull it off in a lot of ways, right? Not so much that they weren't successful. And so they got into a challenge, and then that brought us like 2018, which is when you walked into affiliate. But like people started to realize, or at least people were starting to prey on affiliate owners in terms of like, hey, you're bad at business and here's why.
Yeah.
Right. And so now all of a sudden in 2018 to like, I'll call it COVID, but probably just got this blacklisted as an episode now. You can put that out. I didn't say the C word. You call it 2018, like everybody became fascinated on what they were bad at in business. And so like, but what ended up happening is a lot of people were treated back to a garage gym. Right. And so we're in this era now where there's a lot of people back in a garage gym. But I think now, and I think a lot of that had to do with that C word. People were like, I can work out at home. Oh my God. Right. Like everybody went to Rogue's website, was back ordered for 97 years. And now everybody built out their home gym. And they're like, you know what? I'm saving money and I don't have to drive across town. Right. We're talking about Keith again. But now all of a sudden, a couple of years later, they're like, I am saving money and I don't have to drive across town, but like, you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to drive across town and spend some money because I'm sick of myself, right? And like, get me out of my house. And my kids are in the middle of every one of my workouts, or, insert whatever. And so like the affiliates are growing again in terms of membership. Like, Roots is now back up to, I was just talking about this, like they're past 300, which is like their pre-pandemic high ever. And I'm like, yeah, welcome back to the new age. The question is, do we end up replicating the same problem? And I think a lot of that comes down to, in this age, there's a call to action that's so important to affiliate owners, and you better get it right this time. Right? And I say this as somebody who got it so fucking wrong in that same era, because we didn't know what the hell was happening, right? Like the whole world was moving 3,000 miles an hour, and it allowed you to overlook the other things. And so one of the reasons I'm so adamant on, choosing the right customer and speaking the right language, and letting people who are going to find you naturally find you anyways, but really attracting people who weren't going to find you, is because that's how it broke the last time. And if we can better create those people, I think we'll pull them back out of the garage gym, because what I do think is here to stay this time is the garage gym.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going away like it did in 2008, 2009, where everybody was like, I'm parking my car in here and I'm never moving it out again. Like, I'm done working out in this thing. I'm a member of an affiliate. Now people are starting to realize, they're like, oh, there's some balance here in terms of like 3 or 4 times a week there, but like life comes at you hard and fast. I'm not a failure because I didn't make it to class. Right. I can get my workout in, I can get my other stuff in. And so I'm glad that there's that balance there that's happening. because what the reason I'm glad for that is that people, I think, are starting to realize that the affiliates aren't where I do the training.
Mm-hmm.
It's where I get the coaching and I get the community.
Yeah.
But in 2010 to 2020, affiliates were where we did the training.
Yeah.
Don't come at me with that coaching. And like, you didn't even pay attention to the community. In fact, like, that was either the people you were trying to beat or like the people you just didn't like in class, right? Like, but now everybody's come back to the gym being like, coach me.
Yeah.
Do this with me, please. And so there's a new appreciation that's happened there. And, you know, I'm happy that we're here as the voice of reason, and I'm happy you're here as the voice of reason, as our voice of reason, to be in this sort of this new epoch.
Mm-hmm.
For one, because you get that conversation, which is that like, hey, this is better with friends, and it's a lot better if I spend my time here not just doing the thing that I can do at home. You help me get better at doing the thing when I'm here. Right. Like, and so you're so uniquely qualified to have that conversation as the person that you are and the experience that you have, not just the person who's like a sounding board, right? But like, here, Keith, this is what you got to care about. Like, you get it. And I think that part's valuable.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I think you're right that the garage gym doesn't go away. I mean, the number of people that we have that are members of our gym that are like, oh, I didn't make it to class today, but I'm going to do the workout at home. Like, well, that's why that's why .com still exists. And that's why CAP programming, like, comes with an at-home version. So everyone of the members has like a version they can do at home. And I love that people are still doing the workouts even when they're not able to make it into class. Like, that's incredible, because if you were only going to rely on people actually making it into class for them to eventually achieve the kind of fitness that they want to achieve, it's never going to work. Like, people just don't have the capacity in today's day and age to like, yes, I'm going to show up to a class 6 days a week. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, I can't do that shit. And I'm the freaking owner of the affiliate.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I mean, in some of that is like maybe my own era that I got into when I started the gym too. Right. I mean, I think in the aughts, when you were originally talking about like when, you know, the explosion of affiliates happened, the people that were starting affiliates, I think the average age of the affiliate owner was probably a lot younger than it is today. It was somebody who was just jumping in, like, I'm going to do this. I love it. I'm excited about it. And they dove right in. Like, that's great. Like, go for it, give it a shot. But because of that, there was maybe some shortcuts taken on certain things. And there was also like a different level of expectation about what an affiliate should look like or could look like, and what it meant to actually be of service. Like, Greg talked a lot about like excellence and virtuosity is like the thing that you wanted to pursue, but like nobody even knew what that meant. It was just like, oh, sure, keep a clean bathroom, great, but like nobody had a clean bathroom. So, but I don't know, but now it's different. You know, I'm almost 40. I have 4 kids, and have other things on the table, and I'm opening an affiliate because I think there's a huge opportunity in it. I absolutely love it, and I absolutely want to serve, and I actually want to absolutely want to deliver excellence and virtuosity as an owner. But like, I'm doing that with eyes wide open about what that's going to take and what that actually means in terms of the time and attention that I have to give to the business. And I think there's a lot more people like me that are starting affiliates today than there were in 2010, 2015. Yeah.
But I think too, like the thing that you said there, you know, your time and attention on the business, Keith, when people open an affiliate back at the, you know, the start of things, you know, 2010, it was like, I'm really good at this thing. I really like working out. If I just have my own space, me and my friends can work out whenever we want. I know that one of the first affiliates I was a member of, she opened it so her and her bestie could work out together whenever they wanted. And there was, the business was kind of like just figured out as you went. It wasn't really a business. It was like me hanging out with my friends, and I created this cool space and check out the black mat goodness kind of thing. So it's that perspective now. It's like the focus on the business rather than I just get to throw down with my friends in my own shed, and that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is like that was the affiliate that I walked into in 2018 to join. That was literally exactly how they got started. It was like 4 friends that, you know, threw together enough money to get the space, and when I was doing, so I ended up, like I said, consulting with them. And the thing that always blew my mind is every time they brought me in and they would share their financials, like they've never once made money ever.
Mhm.
And it was like, what are you guys doing here? I don't understand. And so like, that's just one of those, like, I feel like there were a lot of affiliates that were like that. They were just like, to your point, Lisa, like, oh yeah, let's have a space where we can work out with our friends, and that's awesome. But going into it with a different set of expectations in terms of what you're actually trying to accomplish is, I think, maybe a little bit different now than, or at least it is certainly for me than it was for some of the other folks that I've seen in the space.
Well, it's certainly not an abnormal story, right? I mean, that's, I think the 08, the aughts, and then the teens were, it was mostly, most of the affiliates, I think, came to exist out of a force of necessity, but a different type of necessity, which is like, there is no place to do this, so I'll be the place to do this, and I'll just whatever. Everybody's welcome, and then it was like, oh, this is way different than I thought it was going to be. And now I think there's a new necessity in terms of like some of the affiliates are, I got to keep this thing going because those affiliate owners are out there like, I'm out, right? And it's like this whole thing was at risk, or it's like a necessity of like, I need to do this thing the right way for the right reasons for the right people. And I think it's just a different necessity. But in that same sort of conversation, like, what I think, there's never been a better time though in affiliate than there is now. Like, and the 100%. Reason for that is that there's so much groundwork that has been laid, to your point, Keith, in terms of like what people have done, tried, true, et cetera. And like, there's just paths, and plus there's just a lot of great opportunities to buy a great affiliate. For all you guys who are sitting on the sidelines, just go ask your owner, because I probably more than likely going to sell it to you. And if he says yes, make sure that we're the first person that you call. But before you write that check, just to be a cool kid at the table, because it's probably not worth as much as you think it is. But no offense to you affiliate owners, it's just that you didn't build a business, you just built an arena. But I guess my point, coming full circle, is that I would argue that one of the reasons it's the best time to own an affiliate is not necessarily because the amount of resources and help and stuff that's out there, because I think that becomes more confusing than anything. It's that now people are starting to understand that the thing that affiliate owners got confused with in the beginning, which is that training isn't really worth anything. It's infinitely free. It can be done and should be done all the time, wherever you can, when you can, however you can do it. Coaching is the thing that it's worth a lot of money. And so there's a lot of affiliate owners right now who sit at the precipice of trying to switch their business model. And, that's kind of, I think, where we excel in terms of like helping people understand that, like, hey, there's a lot of ways to do this, but there's really at the core, there's like two. You could be a training affiliate, or you could be a coaching affiliate. And for some people listening to this, they're like, isn't that the same thing? I don't have time to get into that now. Go back, listen to all of our episodes, but they're very different. And HQ would be well served to also highlight the difference in those two things, because I think even they get it confused. But like now, if every one of your clients, like, and this is an important part of it, I would bet you would be twice as successful as an affiliate owner if every one of your clients had a home gym and worked out at home as well as came into your gym, because they would know the difference. I can get the same training experience in my home gym as I can get here in terms of I can do the same workout. But it's different when I come here. And why is it different when I come here? The two things that you're paying for: coaching and community. That's it. Because the training isn't it. But every affiliate owner in the tens, in otherwise, was like, they were focused on the training. They were writing the program. They were trying to build the best workouts. They were trying to run the best class. They didn't pay attention to two things that mattered the most, which was the only two things you could get in an affiliate, which is people like us doing things like this, and someone always watching me. Right? And that becomes the important part of it. And now I think the audience, there's a million ways to get high intensity and training, interval training done, right? You can get it done in that orange place. You can get it done in that other F knockoff place. You can get it done any of the cheese dick fitness brands, as Nicole will call them. Right? Like, you can get a hard workout. None of them are going to coach you, right? And so the affiliate is now poised for this conversation. For people like yourself, to pull people like you, people who have no background, no experience, et cetera, to do two things: find people in a supportive environment to attach myself to and otherwise, and also be coached. And like, if you're not focused, if your business model is not focused on developing those two things, your business model is probably focused on the other one. And that's okay. Just that other one is really chaotic. It's really loud, and there's a lot of people doing it. and they're going to have a lot of opinions with a very little amount of money to spend. Versus if you can just curate the conversation, you get the right people for the right reasons, and they're like, I will throw money at your feet if you just give me people to do this with and care about me when I do it.
Yep. I love that.
And I think that's the big thing is that, find someone who, and now probably since, pandemic and we had all that isolation, people want to be seen and they want to have someone who feels like that they care about them and matter. There's an account I follow on Instagram over here, and every week he does weekly confessions.
You guys have Instagram over there on your prison island?
Yeah, we do. We've got to wait for the kangaroos to keep hopping to get the internet. But over the last couple of weeks, I've noticed there's been a couple he's published where people are like, the gym is the only place that gives me joy each week. It's the only place where I feel happy. And he's like, well, yeah, you need to do some things in your outside life, but people are being drawn back to that space because it's like, it's the only time I feel like someone cares about me because my coach said, where were you yesterday? No one else in their life. And I think CrossFit gyms are uniquely positioned to provide that for people and give them that space. But then it's understanding how to communicate that to the wider market that if you feel isolated, this is a place where you won't.
Right.
So none of this was supposed to take 40 plus minutes. I wanted to talk about Keith's origin story, but here we go. I got caught on a tangent. Ironically, the thing I wanted to talk about today was the two-way street that is marketing. And you were obviously the person for that part of it. And I guess this sets us up to tee up the next episode because that is definitely going to be it. Because really what I wanted to focus on was how excited we were to have you on board because of your background, your experience, and specifically, you're not just somebody who understands how the mechanism of marketing works. Like you also understand the language. And so I want to talk about that part of it. But the thing that I wanted to talk about was the two-way street of marketing. And that was, and really what I mean by that is that people think about marketing in terms of its ability to get people's attention. But the other side of marketing, which I think is the more important part and the part that is always interested in me is the feedback part of marketing, right? Which is, getting people's attention is one thing, but whether they're paying attention to you is the second part of it that you should probably be paying attention to. It's kind of like, if nobody's asking you out on dates, that's probably going to tell you something about your appearance and your presentation, right? Like, sure, that you're ugly, but I suppose it's probably not that binary. And so I wanted to talk about that part of it, but I think we kind of led into the segue, which is like, as an affiliate owner, and I guess this is the question that I kind of pose at the end of it here, is that as an affiliate owner, what conversation are you engaging in? Because as we have this conversation about training versus coaching and engaging people like yourself and other people and getting them in and talking to community and coaching, there's a lot of people who are broadcasting various versions of that plus training, but are you paying attention to the conversation that's coming back? Meaning, if nobody's listening, what are you doing to tailor your product? And I think in the early stages of CrossFit, this is where things got really chaotic, was that, we were all basically ugly kids, which is like, nobody was showing up on our Tinder profile. We're like, what is going on here? And, but if that's the case, you should be taking that feedback and changing your model. But most of us just wanted to land on this sense of egotistical pride back then, which was like this elite fitness thing, which was like, we're proudly just who we are. And like, if you don't like me, you don't like me. And now I think we're starting to understand that like, hey, feedback is important because like we need to get the right people in the gym, because if we don't get them in the gym, it's not about making money or not making money. It is that, but it's that people more than ever, I think, are working out more than ever. In fact, the data says it. They're just not getting fitter. They're still just getting fatter. Right? And so if we don't teach you guys or help you guys understand how to receive the feedback, and this is where you come in, I think ideally for the audience, if we don't teach you how to receive the feedback and modulate your product, they're going to go someplace else who is good at it. Right? They're going to end up in the cheese dick brands. And then what we end up with is somebody who is a use case scenario who's like, I tried that high intensity stuff. It didn't work for me. This is just who I am. Yeah. Right? And so like, that's what I wanted to talk about. I guess we could talk about next episode too, but like, I think that's the important part of, and as we start to announce and be proud of bringing you on board, I think that could look a lot like we're bringing Keith on board because we want to grow this thing. And we want 1 million affiliate owners. Same rules apply. We still don't want that many affiliate owners working with us here because we can only work with so many of them, but we do want to help you guys have better conversations with the people who want to listen to it.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm excited to bring you on board.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of the two-way conversation with marketing, I think is really interesting. When I was at CrossFit, I mean, the thing that I always advocated for was just telling more stories about the people who did CrossFit.
Yeah.
Because I think in a lot of ways, that's actually that's literally the two-way communication that happens between a brand or a company and its potential clients is like, if you can take the feedback from the client that you already have about what's working, how it's working. This is like basically your traditional testimonial, right? And then repackage that as a push message out to prospects. You create a draw for people who are like that person who is telling that story. And so telling the story of the people who do the thing in so many ways is literally creating that feedback loop for the two-way marketing conversation. And so I think there's a huge opportunity for us to do that at the affiliate level, but at the CrossFit level or even at the affiliate level. I actually just did a piece of content for our gym not too long ago where I've got one member right now who has been like heads above all my other members in terms of referrals. Like almost all the new members that have come in the past several weeks have all been like, oh, I know Kayla. I know Kayla. I know Kayla. It's like, oh shit, I need to tell more Kayla's story.
I know Kayla.
So I just asked Kayla, I said, hey, Kayla, can we spend like just 2 minutes in the middle of a class? And I'm just going to ask you a couple questions. And so I did that. I turned the camera around and said, hey, Kayla, you're getting ready to do pull-ups. Would you ever have done this before? And she's like, no, I've never would have thought about doing a pull-up before. Did you ever think you could do a pull-up before? No, never thought I could do a pull-up. What are you doing right now? I'm doing pull-ups. And so like, there's so many people in our community that know Kayla. She's another small business owner. And I'm able to tell her story about the newfound confidence that she now has as a result of having taken the step to come into the gym. And so now all the people that are like Kayla that didn't think they could do a pull-up, that didn't think they could walk into the gym, that want the same things that Kayla wants, which is more strength and more confidence and more like they all want the same benefits. They don't want features. They don't want this is a beautiful gym with pull down machines and leg extensions or whatever. They want the benefit of like being the better version of themselves. The better version of themselves happens to fall on the other side of a lot of sweat and a lot of hard work. And seeing someone else in the middle of doing that hard work and saying, I'm thankful that I'm doing this hard work because it's giving me the outcome is like, that's like a light switch that goes off for people.
Yeah. No, I love that too. In a world when I think marketing, unfortunately, has become typified or codified as advertising, like I think everybody now thinks of marketing. If that's the case, most people think marketing is broadcasting, right? They think about it in terms of like, and I think they think about it like they think of media, right? Which is like the news talks at me and it's my job to interact with it however I want to. But the point of marketing, to your point, is to tell stories, right? The point of marketing is communication. It's how your brand communicates with its potential audience or its current audience. And the point of that is that that's a two-way street. It's like the point of telling stories is to, one, curate and create a following, but the point of that following is to create a community, right? Where people engage, interact with each other and communicate. And so you're highlighting someone like Kayla is an easy way to take a story, essentially turn it into a call to action, something that can be leveraged and leaned on. But the point of it really is that you're just creating conversations. And I think now in a world when everybody thinks that marketing is Facebook ads and call to action, direct marketing, direct advertising, whatnot, like the affiliate landscape, I've never met an affiliate owner who doesn't get enough leads, full stop. I've met almost every affiliate owner, though, who doesn't do a good job making enough money from the leads that they're getting. That's a big problem, right? And so if we get you guys to stop focusing on the number of leads and we get you to focus on the amount of money you make from those leads, at the same time, we can get you guys to understand how you better tell your story and communicate with those people. but most importantly, get those people talking back to you, not just talking at them. That's marketing, right? And it's done. And like, you're the perfect person for that. And that's why I'm very excited that you get to be on this side, helping so many of them be like, you could run ads, and that does work, because like, you know, it's easy solution, short-term easy, long-term hard. But like, maybe because you got enough people coming in, we could choose short-term hard, long-term easy, because that's the beauty of marketing. If you start to create an authentic brand, an authentic conversation, it might be a very hard front-end proposition to start getting that wheel rolling. But once it rolls, it rolls. But everybody else is like, yeah, but hear me out. I'll teach you how to run this Facebook ad, and you'll have 4,000 leads this month. And if even just 3% of them sign up, you're going to make 30 grand. They're like, I'm going to take that one. Right. So I think we're over that conversation.
It's interesting because like Lisa and I were having this conversation last week about like, that's a tactic. Like, you know, running an ad or running a campaign is like a single tactic. And I think that tactics are great, but if it's not built on a clear understanding as to what your strategic intent is, then you're running a tactic for the sake of running a tactic, or you're trying to run a specific, like one specific thing in hopes that it's going to create something that it's not intended to create. And so that's what one of the things, the analogy that I used when I was having that conversation with her is like, and this is when I was, you know, first coming on board and trying to wrap my head around exactly what FitFilliate was. Like, I think you guys designed it, and now I can say we designed it to be like a CrossFit affiliate or like CrossFit the methodology. Like, it's a holistic thing. It's maybe like ads are a tactic that you could potentially use, but that has to be, you have to make sure that that's actually aligned with the intent of becoming more fit as a business. And maybe that's actually the right tactic in a particular instance for that strategic, like that broader strategic goal. But like, it's not the only thing you should be doing. Because a great coach is going to tell you that like, you need a holistic approach. And that's what CrossFit is, right? It's constantly varied, functional movements executed at high intensity. And that's kind of in the way that I've wrapped my head around what FitFilliate brings to the table. Is it's constantly varied approaches executed at a high intensity, and they're functional with the intent of taking you toward the path that you've stated that you want to go to. Just running the single thing is like walking into a bodybuilding gym versus walking into a CrossFit affiliate. Like, if your goal is to create leads, then go create leads. That's the only thing you need. Right? But if your goal is to create a well-run business that gives you the freedom that you want in your own life and in the freedom in your business, then you probably shouldn't only do one thing. And that's like, because if you do only do that one thing, you're going to eventually become huge chest and back and no legs because you kept skipping leg day. And like, that's not what we want to create from a business perspective. That's certainly not what we want to create from an athlete or from a member perspective. Like, you need well-roundedness. And I think that's what we can bring to the table from a coaching perspective.
And I think too, one of the things, you know, to continue on that analogy is, you know, if we're talking about skipping leg day, people skip it because it's hard, it's uncomfortable. And when we talk about having a well-rounded affiliate, it means doing some of the hard things and doing some of the uncomfortable things and having hard conversations, uncomfortable conversations about, you know, is this aligning with what your intention is? What's your, you know, why? What's your end objective? Are you just throwing paint at the wall and hoping it sticks? Go, I'm just going to do this thing because this person did it, or someone told me just to do this, and I'll have a, you know, $1 million affiliate or whatever. But it's avoiding those hard things. So it's like, it's easy to advertise because it's fun, it's sexy. It's like, you get to be creative and you get to, I'm running ads and I have this much ad spend and rah, rah, rah. But that's like not looking at, well, what's the hole in the bucket happening at the other end, and what's all the other things that are actually hard. It's like, oh no, I'm over here doing the fun, shiny things. I don't have to worry about those horrible things.
Yeah.
Two great analogies in that. Like, I think to that point, Lisa, running ads is actually hard, right? It's not simple. It's not easy. And it's an effectively, you know, engaging sort of undertaking in that, you know, It's the same way that doing, back and biceps, chest and tris is still hard, right? But you're right? You're skipping leg day, right? And there's a reason why, you're probably doing that. And that is because like every time I do legs, I want to throw up. But what's interesting, I've always been the most fascinated with this whole thing inside, since FitFilliate was launched, was the clever ironies that exist in terms of the affiliate owner's inability to draw correlations to the things that they know to be true, right? Like, for example, everybody in affiliates, all CrossFitters don't skip leg day, right? They don't skip lat day either, because like you can tell the type of a CrossFitter. So it's interesting. So CrossFitters will do the hard thing, and affiliate owners know to do the hard thing. But when it comes time to do their business, they just don't replicate the lessons that they've learned in terms of their fitness and apply it to their business. That was the whole sort of tagline for FitFilliate in the beginning, which was like applying the principles of business or fitness to business so that you can essentially increase the fitness of it. And even then it was still kind of lost on them, but it's I like the analogy of tactics too, as it applies to advertising, because I think it's salient in that like tactics are great, but if you only have one tactic, that's fine if you're fighting an enemy, right? In war that has a similar or singular tactic, you can defeat them. But if you are a singular tactic, like if you only had an infantry, so to speak, and you went into a war and you're fighting a completely, flexible sort of enemy, which is essentially what it means to take on this fight as an affiliate owner. Like you are fighting a battle with an endlessly moving target who's constantly shifting tactics. And what I don't mean is getting the attention of CrossFitters. What I mean is you need to get the attention of people who need you. And guess what? That target is moving all the time because big food, big sugar, big pharma, all those people are also competing for their attention. And like, if you show up with just one weapon, which is like, your 6-week or your 12-week challenge ad, it doesn't last long, right? Because that target's always moving. And so I like the conversation about tactics, because I think that makes sense to them in that regard. They're like, oh, you need lots of them. Like you still need an infantry, right? Run the ads. That's great. Do that. But like, start telling your stories, start building your brand, start doing that other stuff that might seem harder, but it'll make you much more impervious to a flexible enemy or opponent, I should say. Anyway, now we're an hour into this thing, and we could talk about that whole thing for the next 2 hours. So I think we'll do that in the next episode, Lisa.
Yep. All right. Well, this has been a fun chat, Keith, and we will get you back on high rotation. But thanks for your time today, and lots of good thought bubbles out of this episode for sure. If you are watching this or listening to this, please give us a like or a subscribe on your favorite platform of choice. And also if you don't already, head over to Instagram to follow us at FitFilliate, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Awesome. Thank you.